All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the official first podcast here. So since we have already announced it, we're gonna do a podcast today with Ladus, Pluto, and Lambo together. I'm gonna unmute myself in some minutes, and then we're gonna start with a podcast. And yeah. So, what are the topics today? The topics are today that we're gonna talk about Science League a little bit, just a short question, and then we're gonna talk a lot about the last Q&A from the developers. That will be the main topic of the podcast today, and yeah, I hope you're gonna enjoy that. Also, what we really like, if you have feedback for us, what you want to share with us, you can write it, for example, in the comments under the live stream, or you're gonna say it on our Discord channels, or you're gonna DM it us. Feedback is always welcomed, right? Yeah. So I'm gonna unmute myself in like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then we're gonna start. Yeah, in the background you see a little bit Rise of Kingdoms, you know. Hey man, Mania. Hey Samurai, how are you doing? Welcome to stream. Welcome to stream, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Also, guys, if you like the content and you know other people who also enjoy content like this, then we are welcome to share the podcast or overall, you know, our playlist to other people, you know, so they can also see that. We're gonna talk about different topics, you know, always about Rise of Kingdoms, what's going on at the moment, and yeah. So we're gonna, I'm gonna unmute myself in like 1 minute, and then it's starting. Lambo's in the chat. Hey man. Today, no background music because, you know, when we all talk, it could just maybe disturb. So I don't think music now in the background would be good for the podcast. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna unmute myself now. All right, guys. I have unmuted myself. How are you doing? How are you doing?
Hello.
Hey, mate.
Morning.
All right. So I would say for the begin, everyone from you introduce himself with like some sentence, what you're doing on YouTube and all this stuff.
So I can go first. Ladus here from Ladus Gaming. I don't know whether I have proper sentences because it's 1 a.m., but then I'm kind of looking forward to having this get together where we talk about Rise of Kingdoms content. And usually if you're watching one streamer or one YouTuber, you just get one point of view. But then what we are trying to do is have a full-on conversation and get everyone the point of view from 4 different content creators. Maybe sometimes it'll be the same, and that's how you know it's going to be meta, and sometimes maybe there's going to be differences, and that's where you kind of, you know, get 2 or 3 opinions. So that's why I'm looking forward to it, and we'll pass it on to Pluto.
All right. Hello, everybody. Sorry if my voice is a bit different than usual, but I just woke up, so. But yeah, really excited to be here. Was able to meet Beast, Lattice, Lambo, because of their passion for content creation and their passion of Rise of Kingdoms. So super excited to have this podcast with them, and be able to collaborate with them and all that stuff. As for myself, I'm a casual streamer, casual Rise of Kingdoms player, just, you know, sharing their experiences. So there you go.
And Lambo here, live from the frozen north, where we are covered in snow in northern Wisconsin. So it looks like another nice winter season of staying indoors and playing Rise of Kingdoms. Happy to be here collaborating with these guys. You have a wide variety of experience here from Osiris League champions to lower spending players to mid spending players to high spending players. So, all of us have a different take on the game, have different opinions about different things, and looking forward to see what the other guys think. Although they'll soon learn Lambo's always right. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
Okay, back to you, Beast.
All right. I already said to people what our two main topics are gonna be for the podcast today. So let's gonna start with the first topic, the Osiris League Grand Finals. So this question is to all three of you. Who do you think gonna win the Grand Final and why or why not?
I'll go first on this one if you guys are okay with that.
Yeah.
I think it's 1Vs again, honestly. 1V beat 60 GT in the Grand Prix. They beat 60 GT in the last finals. Has Lilith even announced the Grand Finals yet? I haven't seen anything come out officially stating that, they're going to have the 4 winners from the 4 realms battle it out for a Grand Champion. But, I think if the teams meet up, I think it's going to be a 60 GT against 1V. I know there were issues in the 60 GT and Navi match in the Grand Prix where some players couldn't connect. But hopefully they worked out those kinks, and that was just something related to how the servers were set up for the Grand Prix with all the commander settings and different stuff they did there. But hopefully they fine-tuned it, and that would not be an issue, and we would see a very good battle. I think it's what the community wants.
So, Lotto, do you want to continue?
Yeah. Sorry, I was just doing my car rock bosses. Literally, my alliance set it for 14 UCCs, so I got 2 gold heads. Let's go. Anyways.
Important.
Yeah. So. Yeah, you got to get those gold head stonks. But yeah, for the Grand Prix, Grand Finals. There you go. I definitely think it's going to be 1v against 60 GT in some way, shape, or form. Those two are the heavy favorites. Although Lattice is here and he is from CG 89, or that kingdom, so maybe they'll make some noise. But just from their experience, the amount of experience they have, but I would probably go the same route as 1V with my brain, but I'm gonna say with my heart, 60 GT, because they gave me all of those what do you call it? Mark of talent. I have talent coins, so I'm just gonna ride them all the way through the season. But yeah, that's my prediction.
Well, I gotta go with what Ploto said in terms of being in 2489. Obviously, I gotta support my own kingdom. So if there's a if the grand final actually happens, my support goes to 2489. But then if I had to bet, then I would probably put the money on 60 GT, and that's to do with, again, something similar to what Ploto said. Like 60 GT made us a lot of coins. I'm probably gonna go with that, and more so than that. 1v probably got a little too tested for my liking in terms of how they played against 1021. As much as they won, I didn't feel that they were overwhelming winners, and I believe 60 GT is more of a seasoned team compared to 1021. So I think 1021 can give them a real hard time. Maybe get the win out of the 3 matches, maybe 2 wins, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Good answers. If I can also say my opinion to that fast, I think actually also that 1v gonna win that. And overall, I think the final gonna be 1v against 60 GT. I think these alliances, when it comes to Osiris League or AOO, these 2 alliances are the strongest one in that event, and I hope we're gonna see them in the final. So thanks for that. So let's continue with
if I can just add, another reason I think 1V is the team to beat is simply because they play in the Horus realm, right? There's a lot more competition and tougher competition they face in the Horus
Yeah.
realm than 60 GT faces in the, I think they're in the Anubis realm. So
That remembers me in the newest realm for 2489, where enemies was kinda, yeah, I would not, like not that competitive, like other alliances in other realms. I think just the final was interesting. But yeah, I agree on that point. Okay, so let's continue to the second question. What is your own opinion about the practice arc matches feature? Is that something what would make? Is that something what would make the Osiris League and AOO scene more interesting for people to watch? I would like to start with Lados here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great feature. I think it's more of a feature for the bigger teams though. So I guess unless you're playing in 1v or 1254 or 60 GT, like one of these bigger kingdoms, 1093 even maybe, you're probably not going to use that feature as much. So I don't think this feature kind of benefits the whole community. It does allow the same option, but then people don't even show up in the arc matches, as Lambio pointed out previously in other streams, that they don't even show up for the qualification matches like most of alliances. So how many of them are going to use this feature? And if we think from a content creation point of view, even then, so say for example, if 1365 decides to use the practice, they're going to use the practice with their own alliances and they're going to keep it in-house. So it's not like they're likely to play those practice matches against 1v where we get to see it, because most of these teams would like to keep their strategies hidden for as long as possible. So I think it's a good feature, but then for most of us, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, good point what you said there. I mean, we saw it in the matches that so many alliances came with every game with other strategy. So I don't know, it would be probably not good for their tactic if they show their strategies in the practice matches. Plodo and Lambo, have you something to add on the point what Lado said?
yeah,
I'll
I mean,
let Lambo go first.
I guess let's break down the actual question itself. The question is, I hope the practice matches of Ark of Osiris can be held across alliances and even kingdoms. And the answer from the developers was, for now, we don't plan to make any changes to the practice mode of Ark of Osiris. We are currently developing a feature to allow official matches to be organized and held more easily. Once developed, all our official communities will hold more community competitions, including but not limited to online leagues, offline leagues, and championships. So what this is saying to me is that the practice matches aren't going to change. You're still going to have to do it within your alliance or potentially within your kingdom. Against other teams in your kingdom, you won't be able to do cross-kingdom practice matches. But the way this is worded to me sounds like, and if we remember back about a year ago, there was a Korean Osiris League where only Korean teams could participate in it. What this sounds like to me is Lilith is going to do more of that. Maybe there's a Korean Osiris League, there's a Chinese Osiris League, there's a European Osiris League, there's an Osiris League for American players in their quote unquote official communities. So that could be something good, that could be something bad. It depends. I did not like the idea of a separate Korean league for the simple fact that I felt it further divides the community based on nationality. It doesn't bring the community together across the globe and make it one community working towards one common goal, and that's to have fun and ultimately for everybody to get better at the game. So that's kind of where I stand on that. I guess I want to see how it plays out, see what Lilith actually means by some of their comments. You can tell a lawyer wrote some of this shit because it's very vague.
Lambi, a question, man. When I read that, I read it as in Lilith is gonna give the community the power to hold separate competitions. So, say for example, you and I can host a Arc League competition where teams from different kingdoms can participate. That's how I read it. So that's not how Lilith said it. Like,
It says once developed, all our official communities will hold more community competitions. So I'm not official Lilith. You're not official Lilith.
Yeah,
What does
yeah.
this mean that Chisgul and Shinshi are going to be running their own competition, and they're going to select the teams that they get allowed to participate in it, and those teams might get rewards out of it? I think that would be absolute dog doo doo, right? If
Yeah.
you know,
No, I think
if
what you
specific
said,
content creators that are sponsored can handpick who's in their competition, that just doesn't sound ethical to me.
yeah. No, probably not that. I think probably what you said earlier makes more sense along the lines of they may allow, say, Rise of Kingdoms Vietnam, for example, to organize a Vietnamese competition like they did the Korean version. Probably more like that. You're right. Yeah. Even that, I agree with you, as in, like, I don't know whether having the segregation is that great. A part of me thinks that, but another part of me, living in an isolated time zone, kind of thinks that if there was a, separate Asian competition, then I can maybe play matches at a more suitable time than, middle of the night. So yeah, there's like, yeah.
All right, thank you both for the answers. Yeah, Pluto, have you something to add on that?
Honestly, like I was scrambling to look for whatever you guys are talking about. But yeah, I mean, the one person that I saw the greatest reaction for this was Bulba, because he's been asking for, like different competitions, ways to organize stuff. So I think it'll be interesting to see which interpretation it'll take. If it's more so like a Rise of Kingdoms X, Y, whatever region. Maybe they'll do a Rise of Kingdoms World Cup. Who knows? Because like if you guys see the lines, because it's all based on the World Cup, and they seem to be riding this World Cup wave pretty well, pretty hard right now. So, but yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how they implement it. I feel like we never know anything about Lilith until they actually implement things, such as the Sargon nerfs. But yeah, we'll have to see. But more ways for Osiris to be played rather than just the championship itself or the Osiris League, I feel like is always good for the community, such as the Grand Prix. Like the Grand Prix got a lot of hype. People like that, so we'll see if it's going to be something like that or it's going to be a more casual basis. But either way, I think it's a good thing for the community because it's something to do. So
It won't be Osiris anymore if they screw it up and remove the Ark of Osiris from it, though. Just saying.
Yeah, true. All right. So let's continue with the next question. The developers have talked about siege changes and that they're gonna be a better unit. You think sieges can be a variable better unit since they're getting countered from all three other tube types at the moment? What is your think about that, Lambo?
Well, I mean, they need to make siege weapons viable. You know, right now, I think I have 100,000 T5 sieges to send to the gold pit just because they can carry more. Every other siege weapon I have is a T1 for gathering. You know, I don't use sieges for absolutely anything. You know, and there are kingdoms who require people to delete sieges to lower power so that they can drop out of Imperium, so on and so forth. So siege is not used for much of anything. Yeah, you have some kingdoms that'll throw sieges into a pass or whatever just to kill them off that way. But they need to do something with siege weapons because right now it's not a viable weapon. I mean, when I picture a siege weapon, you know, I picture sieges on castles in medieval times when a castle was surrounded by armies and you would launch siege weapons, you know, at the walls to break down the walls so you could bust in and you know, stuff like that. But I don't remember the last time I saw siege weapons actually used in the game other than for looting a city.
yeah.
All right, Pluto, what do you want to add something?
Yeah, I mean, similar to Lambo, like one thing that I tend to do just for fun is kind of like in my mind, kind of like role play like what's going on the field, and then I just imagine sieges. Like they see a bunch of carts and stuff. It's like, oh my gosh, this is like our grocery cart for resources. Is practically what sieges are right now. So it's definitely not the same implementation or use as in real life, where siege is like, oh my gosh, like it's gonna take down the city, it's gonna take down this encampment or whatever. So, but yeah, I feel like it's gonna be tough to implement siege because every change in Rise of Kingdoms is gonna be tough. As Lambo said, some kingdoms, especially if you're in an Imperium, they tend to force their players to delete their siege because it's been seen as dead power. But if they're gonna make it, I guess, relevant, it's gonna be tough for all the people that would delete siege or kind of like kill off their siege and garrisons and all kind of stuff. But I think overall, making it a relevant troop type is gonna be, I don't know if it's gonna be a good thing, a good change or not, but it's definitely gonna be a change because right now, siege are useless.
Yeah, I mean, the sieges have you can make with that so much, right? Like on the battlefield, and you make it like catapult or something who's shooting on the enemy flag or something. Just an idea, no? I hope they're gonna do something good with that. So let's hear from Lados here what he is thinking about.
Hey man, so I got some very specific ideas about Siege based on how it is now. So the first one is, I don't know whether you guys know, I'm a big fan of Mehmed, and that's to do with his city rallies and all. Every KVK I do at least one Siege rally video with Mehmed. My wish list, which kind of aligns with reality, is maybe Siege should have like a special bonus against cities. So you don't use Siege for, no special bonus when you're garrisoning or when you're, I guess, rallying a flag or a fort or anything to keep the balance the same. But then the designated specific role could be firstly hitting cities. So you get a bonus that way. They still like a purpose, but not changing the balance. And the second thing could be the new arrow tower stuff. Like I know that you can use siege in the arrow tower, but then like why does it have to be the case where it doesn't do any save wounded? So I hope that they can allow the same mechanism, maybe less save wounded, but some save wounded. So in a way, you're using the siege as a effective tool in battles, especially in tricky situations. But then again, it's not breaking the balance. So the other three troop types has a priority, but siege has a purpose. Because at the moment, as you guys were saying, like Imperium KD, I'm not allowed to have any siege. So that building where I even forgot the name of the building where you create siege, that's like empty all the time because you're not allowed to use that. Because I know if I use that, then I got to delete anyway. So what's the point? So I just don't train anymore. Yeah, that's my ideas, man.
Yeah,
if you guys want to have some fun and use your sieges, if you have sieges, try doing Soroli Crisis or Ian's Ballads with siege weapons. It's quite interesting.
But Lados, yeah, you said some good ideas there for sure. Right, so let's turn to the next question. And here we're coming to the formations. What are you thinking about the new 7 formations? Is there anyone what you could use every time, or are there a lot of new strategy possible, like using more with territory in a war, like river, mountain, block, etc.? What do you think? Let's start here with Plato.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've been seeing the formations, like this Rise of Kingdoms is a really competitive game in where there's not like, hey, I'm gonna do this or that for fun. It's more so like this is what's best, and we're gonna use that. So I feel like the same thing's gonna happen with formations, where the skill damage formation, what is that called? The wedge formation? I don't know which one it is, but the one that gives 5% skill damage, from what I've seen so far, seems to be like, especially in KVK2 Kingdoms, which is where it's live right now. That's what I've seen used the most, and I feel like that's probably gonna be the norm for most marches, just because like skill damage is the meta right now, is the open field meta. Even you could say is the garrison meta and rally meta. So it's gonna be pretty tough to, I guess, defer away from that meta. I don't really think there's too much strategic involvement, or like anything that changes strategy that much. For me, formations and armaments and inscriptions are kind of just like equipment 2.0. with what I've been seeing. It's just like, all right, a random chance to hit this, a random chance to hit that, and then we're gonna, see if we get the right stats on our armament or not. So I feel like it's just, it's not really, there's not too much strategy involved, except you really need open field now if you want to rally or something, because if you don't have open field, they could just set up a bunch of arrow towers and kill your rally. So, but yeah, that's it.
All right. Good answer. Lembo, do you have something to say to this?
I'm cautiously optimistic. In theory, formations may be a good thing, because it adds a different element of strategy to the game. And after all, this is a strategy game. In the same respect, if it's not done correctly, it's going to totally screw things up for a ton of people. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm kind of taking a wait and see approach. I'll have a bit more to say when we get to armaments.
All right. Yeah, that's yeah. Ladus, do you have do you have a point on that question?
Yeah, man. So I'm gonna kind of start following on from where Pluto kind of ended. So the strategy bit. So what I'm kind of quite disappointed about, and actually I'm very disappointed about, is Lilith is trying hard and they're putting the effort in terms of bringing new things in the game. But then when they're bringing new things, they're not creating the strategical depth that I would want to see, which is going to make people think, make choices. So, in terms of the formations they brought out, like it's too obvious. Like everyone is going to do the same thing. So it's similar to the power up KVK they brought in, where they were when you're bringing matches out, there were like 4 or 5 choices, and at the end of the day, everyone was using just one single choice. I now forgot the names. There was melee damage, and the other one was guerrilla tactics. So there were like few different options, and we played that power up KVK, and every single kingdom, every single march had the same formation. So if you're adding a boost where the choices are so stupid that you can just pick one, that's where I'm annoyed, I guess. So, and the same thing is happening with formation as well. So if you're taking a support march, you're always going to use that support formation, whatever that's called. And otherwise, you're most likely always going to use the skill formation. So if they want to bring new things, I want them to think it through and make it balanced in a way where people have to make choices which will create different playing strategies, which is not, I think, what's happening with this. So this is a great feature, which I hope they don't stop there, but they do more balanced changes so that all formations are equally usable and people have to think.
Yeah, good point. I think the basic idea from Lilith was with that, like, that way giving the people more strategic on the field, but I think it's just not balanced yet. I think if they looking forward and balancing that it could be looking more interesting for people also to try the other formations, not just the one. What everyone using yet. I think it's a good future, and I hope there are gonna be more updates on the formations actually. So let's go to the next questions, which is going to be about the armaments. The armaments which you make your formation stronger, and then also the inscriptions which also you to customize the buffs a little. What do you think about it? Is that a good new feature, or do you think it's getting too much, especially for new players in Rise of Kingdoms? Let's start with Lembo here.
I don't understand it. It adds too much micromanaging to the game. It's gonna scare existing players away, and it's going to scare new players from ever even picking up the game and starting. I mean, you got to put yourself in the shoes of a brand new player who's never played this game before, right? either if they can't walk in and it's not something that they can easily pick up, they're going to ditch it after a day, after 2 days. You know, if the first experience they have in this game is, okay, I've got commanders, now I've got to get equipment, now I've got to choose a formation, now I've got to get armaments, now I've got to get inscriptions, now I need better equipment, now I need better you know, it's way too much micromanaging. You know, I think Lilith got to a point where, okay, we have T5 troops. Realistically, what do we do for T6 troops? Do we have Humvees and tanks and bazookas, you know, for T6 troops? Well, we can't do that because we have like Julius Caesar on the battlefield. So what do? Okay, let's make equipment. Okay, well, now the Krakens all have equipment, you know, 7 marches with fully protected gear on. Okay, how can we help them? Okay, let's give them inscriptions. You know, okay, well, after inscriptions, well, okay, they've got, you know, they've each got 3 marches now with inscriptions on. So what do we do next to make them keep spending money in the game? Okay, let's give them armaments and let's give them inscriptions and make the inscriptions completely random. So they got to keep buying shit to get the inscriptions that they want and be the most powerful, like they want to be, spending, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars on the game. It's I see it as a money grab, and it's just going to drive new people away.
You said a good point there that that these armaments and inscriptions will cost a lot, you know, like a lot of time or a lot of money. You said a good point there, and especially since they are added already in KVK2, what I saw. So like new players, they just played the first KVK, and then stuff like that getting added. I think that's way too much for them to keep up, especially when older people just migrate back. You know, it just makes the cap bigger and bigger between that. But let's hear from Plodo. What do you think about that?
Yeah, similar to Lambo's point. It's like it's pretty obviously a money grab, unfortunately, because like why does the state form, which is the armaments like building, why does it cost gems? Like why do you need to spend 200k gems to get that to level 25? It's just like pretty questionable in that sense. And also I feel like in a way it's like it's hard to quantify because we haven't experienced it ourselves, but I also don't understand their release structure of how they released armaments. Like why is it in KVK2 Kingdoms for like an extra 2 months and then released to the public? Like they announced it so early, and then people have just been waiting for like, all right, they announced it, it's gonna happen this week. All right, if not this week, next week. All right, it's gonna happen within the month. And it's been like a full like month since they released details about it, and it's just like they delayed updates and then all that kind of stuff. It feels like a mess right now. So I'm not exactly sure if it'll be like I mean I know that it's a money grab. Luckily for me, it seems to be tends like for the best of the best stuff, you need to it's not that much stats, but it's super helpful. So I feel like open field it'll help out, but it won't be the end all be all. But for rallies and garrisons, for sure, those guys are gonna have to spend a lot of money, especially because there's daily bundles. There's just a ton of ways to spend your money on armaments, so it's gonna be tough for them. And especially since, if you guys saw the inscription shop, the way to get inscriptions is through the KVK shop, or guaranteed inscriptions, I believe. So if you want to get the best of the best inscriptions, which is what garrison leads and rally leads will have to do, your kingdom will have to win KVK, win Zig, and hold their lost, what is it called, the Ruined Crusader Fort, RCF. So it's just like, why is it so hard? And I feel like they're making it so hard because it's just like, all right, we made gear, we made it streamlined. Like gear, in a way, at least you know what your buffs are going to be when you craft it. When you craft gear, when you invest in gear, when you invest in your materials, even though there's RNG in what materials you get, at least you know that, all right, I'm going to craft this helm, and then I have this is the stats I'm going to get. and then if I'm lucky, I'll get more stats. But I could work towards those more stats by refining, by recrafting, all that kind of stuff. But inscriptions is literally just like a random. It's literally just like I'm playing Mario Kart and then I get an item and it's like, what item am I gonna get? I have no idea. Like I don't know what I'm doing. So I don't like the randomness and the RNG-ness of armaments and inscriptions, especially with the amounts of capital, amount of money, amount of time, amount of investment, amount of gems that Lilith is imposing that the player base has to spend on them. So it's just like a chase that doesn't have any end. But I feel like that's to Lilith's advantage, and that's what they're trying to do. Because with equipment, it's like, all right, this is the end all be all. But then if you get like armaments and then you get like all of the stats for like one troop type, which is really rare, it's like, is this like the best thing? Maybe question mark, there's better things out there, and then you start continuing to spend on armaments. So I don't know. It's it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, you said a good point where like that they cost gems to buy. I mean, like imagine a new player coming to the game and just ended with getting the castle on level 25, which costs a lot, right? Costs a lot. And then there is the new bidding, where you also need to get the stuff to spend gems on. Like, I like that they keep adding stuff, but I think they're looking too hard for stuff where people could spend money, and that just make the cap between low spender free to play and high spender just higher and higher. I mean, I can understand it. They are a business, a company, and the game is overall free to play. You don't need to pay like monthly or I don't know to play the game, right? Everyone can play it, but because of that, they're probably looking too hard for new stuff where people can spend money, and I think that's a big issue. And I don't know, they need to look that they make it fair. But let's hear from Lados. What do you think about that?
Man, so this is gonna sound like a rant because it is. It's
That's Lass's turn.
yeah, finally, it's like the worst thing that Lily kind of could have done since Crystal Tech. So I think when we start playing the game, like when years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, whenever we started playing, it came out as a nice and easy pick up and play game where you don't have to over analyze things. You got historical commanders, you bring it out. Yeah, sure, back then the game was pay to win as well, like you could buy bundles and whatever, but then the gap wasn't that big. Like the hope for free to play or lower spender was over time you're going to catch up. So now as we are learning about this new system, you're never going to catch up. Like it's never ever possible to catch up, and it's like as if we didn't have big enough gap between free to play and play to win. I mean, pay to win. It's even bigger. And I'm speaking as a decent spender. Like I'm not as big a spender as Lambo, but then still quite decent. And the kingdom that I'm in, or the players that I'm playing with, they're heavy spenders, and all of them are going to be spending quite a lot, and they're kind of happy about it. But then what it does on the other side is when you have 5 alliances or say 10 alliances in whole of Rise of Kingdoms that gonna go heavy, what's gonna happen to the rest of the world is firstly they're gonna feel like even less encouraged to play because of the spending side of things and the gap. Secondly, the over complication of you put on this on your marches, you put on that on your marches, and like how many things do you keep a track of? And when you're taking marches out, how many of them is going to be automated? Is the system going to remember? Are you going to remember to change all those things? Like it's too much. It's just too much, and it's not necessary for the game to be more enjoyable. That's what I'm trying to say. And then when it comes to the grind in terms of how you get them, so when you're dispatching marches or whatever, it's not like a grind that you enjoy. So I was hoping it'll be something like Ceroli, but more challenging, where you go out, you do something, and then if you do well, you get items. So it's like a grind, which is the game that gives you rewards. Maybe a pay-to-win players can buy on the side, but then eventually the gap isn't that much. But the way they kind of designed it, it kind of feels like it's all pay-to-win. And then the other thing to mention would be, I guess, when it comes to the luck factor, the RNG. Like I made a video a few days ago about being the unluckiest guy, not few days, like few weeks, but anyways, being one of the unluckiest guy in the game. So with the crafting, after 50 legendary items, I got like 3 crits. So what that makes me feel like is, you know, breaking my phone, as in, why am I even playing this? Because when you put those type of RNG where the difference is so much, and that could be the same with the attributes that you get from the armaments, where, like, what if I go out and I pick up a 5% farming boost, and then Lambu picks up 5% skill damage? Like, what am I going to do after that? I'm going to break my phone, and then I'm not playing this game anymore because you just said I got 5% farming. Like, I don't think it's necessary. And the last thing I want to add is about what, again, Ploto was saying about the RCF, holding your RCF, and how some of it kind of comes from the rewards of end of KVK. So there was a good thing going in terms of KVKs, as in, say, for example, say, for example, when you're playing a what's it called, Strife of 8, usually in most cases you'll have 4 kingdoms on one side and you'll have the other 4 on the other side. It's already the case where out of the 4, after the diplomacy, out of the 4, whichever side wins, only one kingdom gets like the most rewards, or one camp gets the most of the rewards. And then in one camp, you already have, like, in some cases, 3 or 4 kingdoms. So I'm trying to say, out of the 24 kingdoms playing that one KVK, it's already the case that only 3 of them are winning the major rewards. And if you put something that important there, you're kind of taking away the fun of diplomacy and playing together, like the 2-side scenario. So then what's happening is, say for example, if 1v goes into a KVK, and you know in that KVK 1v is probably going to win, whether you're 1v's ally or not, how the rewards are going to be distributed, other than 1v, no one else can be happy. But then 1v is going to be winning and continue being happy because they got the most of the spenders, and they could already buy more stuff, and now they're going to get even more stuff out of it. So in a way, the reward system just makes it even worse. So I don't know whether I made a lot of sense, but I just don't feel good about it. That's all, all I want to say. Like, this is a pretty bad idea.
I like that TLDR at the end.
All right.
Yeah.
Lembo, you said you want to add something, or you have something what you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, how does this impact lag in the big KVKs, right? I mean, you have equipment that now has armaments and formations and inscriptions. Is that more data then that each player is transmitting back and forth to this actual server? Are we going to see more lag in the game because there's increased traffic from every single player over the internet going back and forth? You know, I mean, for Christ's sake, you know, I don't play in an Imperium Kingdom. I don't see lag. But at the same time, watching some of you guys play in these big Imperium KVKs, or other content creators play in these Imperium KVKs, I'm getting frustrated just watching. I can only imagine the player sitting there clicking the buttons on the mouse or tapping the screen of their iPad, you know, who is trying to get their marchers to go somewhere and waiting 5 seconds before they respond. I myself would take that iPad and use it as a fucking frisbee, or I'd put my fist through the computer screen, right? Because, you know, that's why I don't play in an Imperium Kingdom anymore, because I don't like the drama in an Imperium Kingdom, and I don't want to deal with the lag. But how will this impact the lag? Fix the lag, Lilith. 4 words. Fix the lag, Lilith. You know, the other point I wanted to make is it's not going to necessarily narrow the gap between free spenders and spenders. There are KVKs that Lilith really needs to work on the matchmaking for. And the KVK I'm in, for example, we're Kingdom 1029, older players. There's Kingdom 1014 here, Kingdom 1039 here. 1369. And then you got kingdoms like 2636, 2602, 2594, 2579 that are relatively new kingdoms. Now, they have some people who have migrated back to those kingdoms, but in the same respect, the commanders they have and the equipment they have is absolutely no match for myself or MF or, you know, several other players from older kingdoms who have been around for nearly 4 years, grinding for 4 years, have all the top tier commanders, have great equipment. You know, they need to fix the matchmaking to make sure that kingdoms are paired up against other similar kingdoms, both from a power level, an activity level, a kills and deaths level. And, you know, what equipment do people have? What armaments do people have? What inscriptions do people have? That all needs to be factored in there, because some of these matches are just unfair. I mean, we had 2 kingdoms that came into this KVK and said, hey, yep, sorry guys, we're just farming this KVK. We're not doing anything else. Right off the bat, before diplomacy even started, 2 kingdoms informed their camp leader that, hey, we're just here to farm. Okay. After the first zone open, and now that we're ready, we just went through gate 5. So we got into the zone 4, I think it is. I don't know which zones these are, right? But gate 5 just opened. We're in Heroic Anthem, so we're in a farming zone. We're not fighting yet. The enemy camps came to us and said, okay, we're overmatched. We don't want to fight anymore. Can we talk about final rewards? I mean, really? You're surrendering already? You know, I get it. You're overmatched, but, you know, let's fight, you know, fight till the end. Maybe I see both points of view, but you're putting kingdoms in their first or second heroic anthem up against kingdoms like mine who are in their 6th or 7th heroic anthem. It's just not fair. And by adding this new stuff, it's just going to create a bigger gap if they don't fix the KVK matchmaking. Okay, I'm done ranting now.
Yeah, you said a lot of big points there. There's a lot of stuff what Lilith could work on. But I don't know, like for a normal player like me, I don't see that much like that they're looking for fixing lags or making matchmaking better. I don't know, like you know, like sometimes they're saying that, but or you read it in the updates, but when you play the KVK again, you see that it's not getting better somehow. Yeah, so there are a lot of points where they could work on, instead of bringing like new up. Like, I mean, they need to make 50-50, right? Where they look to for making new stuff, that the game is not getting bored for older players, right? I can understand that. But they need also to look to improve the game overall, you know, to make the lags free, to make matchmaking better, that the fun of the game not dying, you know? Like, if you just bringing new stuff to the game, at some point the players are done with it still because of the lags, because of the matchmaking or whatever the reason is, you know, because of the performance overall. So I think 50-50 would be really good here.
So if you
Yeah.
think about the comments that we get even on the Rise of Kingdoms official Discord and all of that, most of the people complain about how the lag is horrible and that's why they don't want to play this anymore because, you know, KVKs, there's too much lag. The second thing is, the second highest complaint is about the gap between free to play and spenders being high. And then there's what Lambo was talking about as well, KVK matchmaking, as in generally speaking, this is sad to say it this way, but generally speaking, there's in a 4 kingdom HA, usually there's 3 imperiums and 1 sad little kingdom out of nowhere. And that ruins it for everyone because there's no way you can do that matchmaking. As in, like, whoever takes the non-imperium is pretty much going to lose. So it can't even be a 2v2. So these 3 problems, I hardly ever get comments from people saying Rise of Kingdoms is boring now because there's no new stuff. The comments that we get is about those other points, and then Lilith decides to, you know, focus on things that no one asked for rather than, you know, looking into things that people complaining about.
Yeah.
That's where the game is suffering and we're losing players, I think.
You said
You know,
you said a point there. Oh, sorry, you want to add something?
Yeah, just I mean, I feel like I'm in a D kingdom. Okay, I'm in a D kingdom. I enjoy playing in a D kingdom. I enjoy playing with friends. I get a lot of flack for being in a D kingdom. The thing that sucks about being in a D kingdom is we're like an afterthought for Lilith, right? You know, okay, we'll matchmake all the A kingdoms and then the B kingdoms and then the C kingdoms, and okay, we have 30 D kingdoms left. Let's throw them all on a heroic anthem map. You know, we're like the redheaded stepchild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looking at your maps, man, like the amount of kingdoms that you have to fight or work with is like a Diplo nightmare. So definitely understand your point about being the
Was there not last time a KVK with 25 kingdoms in it or 24? It's crazy. Like
Yeah, we have 20. We have 20 in this heroic anthem. In the last strife for the 8 we did, we had 32 kingdoms. Diplomacy is an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, I pretty sure that is. So, Ladus, you said that one of the biggest issues what the players have that the cap between free-to-play and a high spender is getting higher and higher, and that the free-to-play and low spender just cannot keep up because they probably don't get enough stuff because you know, from the events and all that. If you're gonna have now a look on the newest update, there's an interesting point because they said there that they're gonna add a new mode for events like Beyond Balat, COD, and Arms Training, where you get more stuff, right? So, what do you think about that? In my personal opinion, like adding more modes where you get more rewards for the people would be a good step for free-to-play and low spender, that they got more stuff. Like for high spender, he doesn't care about that, right? Because he have already everything. But for free-to-play and low spender, who still probably need equipment, who still need gold heads, who still need keys, I don't know, something like that would be probably really good for them. What do you think about that, guys? Who wants to start?
I'm all for free. I'm all for free stuff, right? I mean, you got free to plays that need it, and you know you got people like myself that, I mean, the scariest people in this game are the people that, you know, A, spend money, and B, grind at the game as well. When you have players that do both, those are the scary players that you want to look out for, and I'd like to think I'm a scary player.
I mean, if you do Golden Kingdom, then you're pretty, and you buy those gold chests, I guess you're pretty scary. You got the double gold, you know.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, as much as they're adding the new events, again, so I can't remember the last time I actually played what's it called, Champions of Olympia, because I just don't find it fun. Now it could be just me. I actually don't know whether a lot of people plays it, but when I talk to people, I do know quite a lot of people that kind of gave up because it's not that much fun and the rewards are not that high. So if you're giving, rather than giving 2 gold heads at a higher level, if you made it like 10 gold heads, then the grind kind of feels worth like your time. But then yes, it's good for people that doesn't have other ways of getting the gold heads. So yeah, it's good if it's, you know, help players to, you know, bridge the gap. But I just don't feel like the rewards are enough ever to bridge the gap. So
Yeah.
that's like the one thing. And the second thing is they're bringing a competition out of the new update. I think it was to do with Sunset Canyon. Now again, like Sunset Canyon is like one of the most boring things to do in the game. The thing that makes Rise of Kingdoms special is the things that we can do in KVK and the things that we can do in ARC. So rather than focusing on those game modes, so say for example, if they brought out a mode where you could have you know, someone joining with their 5 marches versus someone else's 5 marches, and then you did a little bit of an open field fight where you had control over the marches rather than how it is on Sunset Canyon, that'll be like interesting. I would maybe want to do it. It was quite similar in what's it called? The game mode, Champions of Olympia, but it just doesn't like it just didn't like they had a great idea, but it just doesn't feel right for some reason. So I'm hoping they bring up events that are fun to grind and with decent rewards. So again, it's in the right path, but not really. Like I guess like the execution isn't the best, so that's where I stand on the new updates.
Yeah, that's a good point what you said there. Pluto, have you something to add to it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not complaining about free stuff. It'll give us something to stream, I guess. Like, hey, these new events, let's stream this. But yeah, I mean, for these specific events, it's just gonna be, I'm guessing, a harder version of what we already have. So like I don't really have too much to comment. It's gonna be good if they could increase the rewards because yeah, like when we do Cerulean Crisis, when it's like not the car boss or whatever, I just hit the boss and then go AFK and then we're done. So it's not really, there's not really any thought process behind it. But if they make it somehow more interesting, I guess it's just gonna be like that could only benefit the game, and getting more stuff is also gonna be good too. Like I like the stuff, but I mean, if you want to bring up Champions Olympia and like those War of Runes game modes, yeah, like I literally call Champions Olympia Rise of Running, so it's it's literally just like Running Simulator 2.0, so it's not that fun, which is bad because that's like what my streams have been. But yeah, it's not that fun, but we're just gonna have to hope that they could actually learn their lesson eventually and implement game modes that could be fun to play. And yeah.
Yeah. Also, what I saw in the new update was the improvements for the beginner event. I mean, we all have make mistakes at the beginning of our account, right? Maxing the wrong commander or spending gold heads on, I don't know, acid, or you know, we have all make somewhere big mistakes, and we was not able to you know, like reset that or make it new. So what I saw now in the new update, that they add a rebirth ceremony event, so that you can reset one commander, and that means the skills, level, and talent. All resources spent on upgrading the commander will be returned to your inventory as items. Is that a good start, you know, for like for newer players, that if they make mistakes, that they have a chance for making it better? What do you think?
Yeah, it's a good thing. At the same time, because we didn't get an opportunity ourselves, like as in older players, I maxed. It is embarrassing. People are gonna subscribe on my channel if I say this. This is why I'm saying it on your channel, man. I actually, the first commander that I maxed was Cleo, because I kind of fell in love with her, and I thought I can be exceptional with like a Cleo support match. So, like, if new players gets that opportunity, why not me? Like, give everyone one chance, right? But it's a good thing, yeah.
Yeah, I think, I mean, that was also a point for people that they add something like that the people have a chance to reset a full commander, you know, that they're getting all back, and that is exactly what you can get with that event. And that's nice to see that Lilith also looking for the community, what they wish that they add. I mean, of course, there are still big points what they need to work on, like what we all said now multiple times, like the lagging, the matchmaking, all that stuff. But it's still good to see that Lilith is watching for the feedback and making then some of the feedback real in the game. I think that's good to see, you know, that we as the community don't get ignored completely, like, you know, in other games where it's happened. So I think we have now 1 hour. Do you guys have a last sentence? What you want to add to the podcast? Did you just have a new idea or something you want to add to that what we talked about. Otherwise, I would get to the end now.
Yeah, just one question, man. When are we doing this again?
What? Say again, please.
Oh, when are we doing the podcast again?
So I would say, since we have already mid-December, I would say the next podcast gonna be in January, where we can see then like the how the update was working, how we have then also a better look on the armaments and inscriptions. You know, we're getting more feedback about that, and then we can have a look back to that. And I think January, maybe mid-January, end January would be a good day for the next podcast. And so the next podcast gonna be then on the channel from Lambo. So don't miss out to subscribe to him. We're gonna announce that, of course, as soon as possible when we know the date. Making announcement. And yeah, by the way, guys, one more time to the end, if you had feedback, if you have questions or anything else, let us know. You can write it in the comments after we have end the live stream here. You can also DM it us, or you can, I don't know, write it on our Discord channels. Yeah, I would say I'm going to end now when the stream. Thanks everyone who have watched the podcast. I hope you have liked it. As always, I appreciate all of your support. And thanks to all of you guys that you was here and that we have talked about the different topics. And yeah, hope to see you then on the next one. See ya, guys.
Have a good one.
Thanks for having us. See ya.